My project is called Between the Seawall and the Festival.
春が来た。私の名ははるみです。父は獅子舞の演者だった。おじいさんもそうだった。今日は私が初めてお祭りで獅子舞を演じるんです。この祭りには昔より大きな変化があった。そしてその変化は今もなお続いている。昨夜、私たち契約校は一晩中体育館で獅子舞の練習をした。もう少し早く始めていれば。祭りの朝は早い。夜明けとともに山頂の神社へ向かわねばならない。父に聞いた話だが、2011年に津波が我々を襲った時、この神社だけが無事だったという。あの日から多くのことが変わった。変わらなかったのは、毎年私たちがいつも東の境界線に行くこと。ただ、両親は津波の後、景色が変わってしまったとよく言っていた。津波の後、7メートルものある大きな防波堤が作られたのだ。あの日からどれほど多くの変化があっただろう。変わらないのは、この神社と海だけだ。
My project investigates the three-way relationship between natural disasters, state infrastructures, and situated ways of living. Particularly, I will explore the relationality of local festival and the possibility of opening up said infrastructure that are primarily concerned with safety and economic efficiency to ceremonial, festival, and everyday use. Harumi resides in a town called Hadenya in northeastern Japan. Each spring, the town holds the Lion Dance Festival, regarded as the most important event of the year. The festival is organized by a unique autonomous group called Keiyakuko, members whom are elected from each of the 50 households in the village. Hadenya is in fact part of a constellation of towns along the coast, together known as Minami Sanriku. Minami Sanriku experiences tsunami once every few decades, with the most recent one in 2011, showing blue, being the most devastating. After the tsunami, the government enacted a three-part strategy for reconstruction. First, modernist urban planning was devised in multiple towns, dividing them according to economic sectors. Second, the state terraformed the strata of Minami Sanriku, moving residential buildings to higher areas. Third, and perhaps the most controversial, a series of concrete seawalls were built, despite past efforts failing again and again. Amidst the rubble, people noticed that a disproportionate amount of ancient shrines survived the disaster. The survival of shrines can thus be read as passing down of ancient knowledge system that conveys safety. Within Hadenya, before the tsunami, the houses were built along the main road, allowing the procession to visit each one of them, taking breaks 9 times along the way. After the tsunami, Hadenya faced significant changes. First, a newly terraformed 7-meter road was added. Second, another 7-meter tall seawall was built along the coast. Finally, the homes were replaced by 2 newly constructed housing clusters. Such alterations fragmented the town fabric of Hadenya. The rhythmic movement of the procession was replaced by a vehicle, only to visit the 2 housing clusters on each side of the town. A procession that once emphasized on the connection with the sea was also severed. Yet the festival continued. The view of the sea is not the only thing the seawall displaced. A knowledge system of safety and social relationships that once relied on regional connections and inheritance of memories is replaced by infrastructure that operates on a national scale. The sourcing of material and labor for these megastructures can thus be read as a state-mandated attempt to inhibit local knowledge to form. So back to the procession. Here we see Harumi entering a home. She enters from the back of the house, and she will make offerings to the family altar dedicated to one's ancestors, and then she will exit to the courtyard where the lion will dance. As Harumi visits the homes, we can begin to see how the civic dimension of the festival ties into the domestic. The original house was arranged around a courtyard that provided performance spaces. The reconstructed prefab houses saw a minimization of these domestic functions. However, in the corner of the house, the family altar remained. Referred to as Butsudan, The family altar becomes a miniature shrine where daily rituals of veneration becomes a mnemonic device for ancestral memory. The shrines and the festivals thus give us a clue of how the people are attempting to mediate their own life against the status quo of disasters and infrastructure. Harumi and the procession find themselves on the seawall facing the shrine. It is here that a new series of spatial interventions were built. Echoing the state's act of terraforming and seawall construction, I propose to implement the same language of infrastructure, but to subvert them in a way that can be appropriated by the people of Harenya. Looking into the town, the terraform highway made the old road redundant, while isolating the shrine in between. As a first measure, I propose to combine the roads together to form just one road, freeing up the shrine and the spaces along the seawall. The parallel morphology between the seawall, the terraform land, and the shrine presents a unique opportunity for intervention. Additionally, in front of the shrine is a dip, where the land is currently disused. It is in this site that I propose to terraform the land from 2 meters to 8 meters to reconnect the relationship between the shrine and the sea again. Close to the shrine on the terraformed soil, there's a gymnasium that becomes an emergency shelter during times of crisis. In between the shrine and the seawall, extending from the old road, a series of step platforms provide a resting point for the town. Finally, a performance stage protrudes out of the seawall. The stage is also flanked by seaweed processing spaces during times of non-festivals. The newly terraformed soil reclaims a new vantage point towards the sea, while conforming to the earthwork scale on a territorial level. Going back to the idea of infrastructure language, almost all of them are very heavy, categorized by monolithic concrete structures and so on. Meanwhile, a lot of the ceremonial languages we observe is very light, such as fabrics or timber. Within my intervention, this contrast between the light and the heavy language also permeates throughout the design. By juxtaposing this contrasting language, the idea of permanence in the face of disaster is challenged. The contrast creates a rhythm between eternity and ephemerality. Harumi steps down from the seawall and gets ready to perform at the stage. She remembers how it took years to build the seawall, and how the construction was merely a way for the state to boost their national GDP. Looking up to the sky, the smell of drying seaweed reminds her of the harvesting season to come. The lightweight timber creaks when she moves, and the timber stage underneath her vibrates gently when they dance. Against the seawall, the stage seems so vulnerable, and it was meant to be that way. She then leads the procession up the platform to where the road used to be. She remembers how her father used to rest at people's homes. Nowadays, this tiny rest stop provides a nice stopping point in the town. She leans against the terraformed soil and looks at the kitchen where the keiakuko used to cook dinner last night. The rest stop reclaims the rhythmic pulse of the procession. Harumi gains her strength and climbs up to the indoor gymnasium. When they were forced to move to a nearby gymnasium after the tsunami, she recalls how strange it was for a place for sports to become a place where people lived. She witnessed how the local fishermen used the space to rehearse their neighboring festivals. Today, the gymnasium shelter in Harenya accommodates all of these activities. Normally, it is used for sports. However, following the gridded spots on the ground, the gymnasium could be also turned into a refugee shelter using temporary timber structures. Or, it could be adapted into a keiakuko meeting space, one such as the space Harumi used to rehearse last night. She descends from the concrete platform to the main stage. As the sun shines on the lion's head, she notices how the heavy, tapered concrete walls support the delicate timber structures above, harkening back to the seawall and the stage. Harenya is a town that is besieged by two things: tsunamis and state infrastructures. While prioritizing safety and economic efficiency, the state infrastructure interfere with the ceremonial lives of the people. By employing the contrasting language of the light and the heavy, my project explored how this infrastructure could be reimagined to incorporate ceremonial and everyday uses. It is only within this context that people like Harumi could re-establish their relationship against the land, the sea, and to each other.
あの津波から20年が経った。 再び大きな津波が起きるのはいつなのか、それは誰にもわからない。わかっているのはそれが避けられないことだ。そして今の私にわかるのは、獅子舞はこれからも続いていくということだけ。私が住んでいる家、そこから町へ、山へ、そして海へ、獅子舞は私たちをつないでいく。仏壇に向かって手を合わせるとき、ふと獅子の気配を感じる。さあ、私は今日、獅子になっている。防波堤を乗り越えて、家々を通り抜け、獅子舞をする。しかし、いつも必ず神社へと戻る。なぜなら、神社から海を眺められるのだ。